Alright, class. So we're going to start this lesson number 2, which is magnetic disk, which is a continuation of lesson number 1, which is secondary storage. So what are we going to be covering in this lesson? So this lesson we're going to be covering about magnetic disk. So what are magnetic disks? Commonly used directly as a secondary storage device. So they are secondary storage device, and physically a magnetic disc is a thin circular plate or plated made of metal or plastic that is usually coated on both sides with magnetized recording material such as iron oxide. So we covered this in lesson number 1, right? So over here you see we have some examples. So some of these are USB, as are the diskettes, floppy disk, and over here we have our hard disk, hard drive. So we have different variation. This one, and then we have the next one, which are the SSD. But we're going to be covering that in our next lesson. So we are going to be covering about magnetic disk in this lesson. So over here we have a breakdown of examples or type of magnetic disk. So the main one over here is you have magnetic disk over here, and first one is floppy disk. So our first one over here is floppy disk, and our next one are hard disk. And this one are the zip disk and the disk pack and the Winchester disks. So over here we see over here the example. For example, this is a disk pack over here. We have the zip disk over here, the floppy disk over here. So these are the examples over here. That's why I put some pictures over here so that you can see them. So magnetic disk storage organization. So they are organized in what is known as tracks over here. As a track. So the tracks are this over here. For example, this space over here are the tracks of a disk. So as you can see in this picture over here, a disk is divided in different sections. For example, over here we have the disk sector, sorry, which is this part over here. It looks like a pizza slice over here, like a slice of pizza, you see. This is what is known as a disk sector. And then we have the track sector, which is this one over here. So this piece from here to here, it is known as the track sector. And these ones over here, where you see the pink color over here, this is what is known as the track. What is known as the track. Then we have the platter, which is this one, of course. The cluster, I love this one, you see the green one. And this is the actor arm and the head. So this is what is going to be reading the information over here. This part over here is what reads the information in a magnetic disk. So this is the sections or the divisions or the main parts of a magnetic disk. So it is very important to remember. Alright, so the first part, which is the sector. We need to understand what is the sector. So a sector is a subdivision of a track on a magnetic disk or optical disk, and this is this part again over here. This is the sector over here. Remember I told you that it looks like a pizza slice or a cake slice. For example, you say this is a cake over here and you cut this part over here. This is the sector. So each track of a disk is subdivided into sector. Well, you can see it over here. Part B, sector. There are 8 or more sector per track. So they have 8 or more sector per track. So let's see how much this one have. Alright, so each disk is made of 8 or more sectors per track. So over here you can see we have different sectors. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sectors over here in this image over here. So a sector typically contains 512 bytes. So contains typically, that's the memory storage, 512 bytes. So this drive are designed to read or write only whole sector at a time. So they're designed to read and or write only whole sectors at a time. So over here, the next section over here says that magnetic disk storage capacity. So they have their capacity. Remember I told you that they can contain 512 bytes, right? So, but how do you know their capacity? So the storage capacity of a disk system equals number of recording surface times number of track per surface times number of sector per track times number of byte per sector. That is how you can figure out the capacity, the storage capacity. So this is one over here. Remember what I told you? The track are these parts over here, which you see this pink color over here, the sector. This one, the blue one, the sector of a track. This part over here, and the cluster. Remember, like these ones over here. So these are the cluster over here. So all right, so magnetic disk access time. So what is the access time, or what does that means? The disk access time is the interval between the instant a computer makes a request from transfer of data from the disk system to the primary storage and the instant this operation is completed. So guys, remember that primary storage, an example of a primary storage is a RAM, right? So what this means is that when the computer makes a command or a request, over here it says to transform data from the disk system, which is the secondary or the hard drive or this SSD or the SD card or the C drive, the main hard drive, also, which is known as the secondary storage, right? So when it makes a request to transfer data from that system, from that storage to the primary storage, which is the RAM, and the instant this operation is completed. So this is what is known as the access time. But this access time depends on three patterns, which is the seek time, latency, and transfer rate. You can always pause this video and you can read what are these definitions, guys. So this is what, so the average access time equals average seek times plus average latency. So this is how you can know what are the access time, the average access time over here. All right, so this is one part of thing which is known as the disk formatting. So what are these formatting are the process for preparing a new disk by the computer system in which the disk is going to be used. For this, a new or unformat disk is inserted in the disk drive of the computer system and the disk formatting command is initiated. So over here we have the example, right? For example, if you buy, let's say you have a and this also includes, or this go along with mobile phone. For example, if you buy a SD card, an external memory for your cell phone, and you introduce that into your cell phone, is going to ask you for a format to format the disk. So once you buy a new hard drive or a new SD card, or for example, if you have a laptop and accidentally or fortunately the hard drive gets spoiled, so you need to buy a new hard drive and you have to format that whenever you're going to put it. Doesn't matter the size, if it is 63, 120, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, doesn't matter the size, you need to format that. So this is very important. This is a very important process of formatting disk. So over here I have an example for, let's say you're going to be formatting a USB. Over here, the capacity over here, the example says that the capacity is 20.3 gigabytes. The file system is NTFS. which is the default. Also, we have the FAT32, we have the FAT, we have different file systems. Everything with these ones, with this file system, everything depends on the capacity or of your um, of your drive you're going to be secondary storage you're going to be formatting. For example, you see over here, you have two options. We got the NTFS and we have the FAT32. So after you do that, you're going to be starting what is known. You're going to start over here. You can put your quick format, and then you can just volume label over here. You can put your name if you want, or the name of the drive. For example, you can put, for example, my name. I can put Mr. Alvarado over there, and then when I format it, then whenever every time I insert that USB into my computer drive, is going to show it as Mr. Alvarado. That's going to be the name of the USB. Then I just press start, and it will automatically format the drive. But this go for everything, for cell phones, for USBs, for everything. So there are two types of formatting over here. We got the low level disk formatting, and it says over here, the first point says that disk drive read or write head lays down a magnetic pattern on a disk surface. Enable the disk drive to organize and store the data in the data organization defined for the disk drive of the computer. So this is what is known as the low level disk formatting. And then we have the OS level disk formatting, and OS, guys, stand for operating system. So what are these one? The OS, or the operating system level disk formatting. Number one, creates the file allocation table, FAT. So this is what stands for FAT, file allocation table. This is what is known for FAT. So over here you see we got FAT32 and we got FAT. That is a table with the sector and track location of data. So that is what it means. Leave sufficient space for FAT to grow. Scan and mark bad sectors. So that is point number 3. One of the basic tasks handled by the computer's operating system. So this is what it means, the section number 3 that says scans and marks back sectors. Enables the use of this manufactured by third-party vendors into one's computer system. So this is what this means. The OS operating level disk formatting, which is known as the operating system, and the low level disk formatting. So this is what it means. So over here we have an example, guys. As I was telling you earlier, we have two formats over here: file system FAT32 and NTFS. And over here you can see you have the capacity over here. You see, for example, the file system over here, the C drive is formatting to NTFS. The EM drive also contains a format of NTFS, and this one, which is the drive. So guys, if you have any, remember, you can always pause this video and you can read. And of course, guys, I will highly recommend you to, well, of course, you're going to be handling you're going to be having your handout. So, but you always, it's always wise for you to be writing down notes. All right, so disk drive. So this is going to be our next topic. What are disk drive? Are unit used for reading or writing of data on or from magnetic disk. So over here, you see over here, we have the example of a hard drive over here. So this hard drive is plugged over here. You can see different cables to read and write data from or the drive over here. And of course, you can have a next example over here as well. You can see a next example. So contains all the mechanical, electrical, and electronic components for holding one or more disks and for reading or writing of information onto it. So this is what that means. So although disk drive vary greatly in their shape, size, and this formatting pattern, they can be broadly classified into two types. So these ones are classified into two types: the drive or the disk drive. So the first one, those which interchangeable magnetic disk, which allows the loading and unloading of magnetic disks as and when they are need for reading writing of data onto them. That is the first classification. And the second classification are those with fixed magnetic disk, which come along with a set of permanently fixed disk. The disks are not removed from their disk drive. So they have two different types. So remember, in one you can add or you can remove as you need them. And the second one is one that already confixed. You cannot add or you cannot remove storage capacities. So these are the two main classifications. So classification number one, you can interchange magnetic disk, or meaning that you can add or you can load the data storage. And the second one is one that already confixed with magnetic disk, meaning that you cannot add and you cannot remove, and it's only going to stay in a standard one or in a set amount of size, data storage size. Magnetic disk, so disk controller. So this is also very important. What are the disk controller? There's a big difference between the drive, the disk drive, and the disk controller. So this drive is connected to and controlled by a disk controller, which interprets the commands for operating the disk drive. So this part over here, remember the drive is where you connect to read. And the next one, this section over here, is the one that control the commands. So there are big difference. There are two big difference. One typically supports only read and write commands which need disk address, such as surface number, cylinder, truck number, and sector number as permanent. So these are the point number two. And point number three say connected to and control more than one disk drive, in which case the disk drive number is also needed as a permanent for read and write commands. So these are the two different ones. The driver or the disk drive is the one that read over here the information, read and write, and the disk controller is the one that interprets the command. This is the one that say, all right, oh, this is the command you're going to be doing. So these are the two different things over here. There's a big difference between controller and drive. So floppy disk, I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to use floppy disk. I remember when I was here in school over here at Mapan, when I was a student over here, within that time I don't remember, we have USB were just starting to appear, the USB, and I think they were for the size were 512 megabytes, half gigabytes within, and they were quite expensive because they were new. So we used to floppy disk over here to do our work, and they were kind of cheap. But of course, you couldn't. They didn't have enough data storage. So, for example, if you take a picture and you want to store it over there, you will automatically fill all your space there. So, majority of time, I was just able to save documents like Word document, Excel, so stuff like that, but I wasn't able to save any picture because their storage capacity was low. But what are floppy disk? So they are round, flat piece of flexible plastic disk coated with a magnetic oxide. So, all right, you will say, but you may be saying, but over here you say they are round, and in the picture they look squared. So this one over here that you see, the square part, is the protector. Remember that I told you they contain a protector, right? So over here, this squared one, what you see black over here, is the protector. So inside this protector, there is plastic, a flexible plastic disc, and over here says that which is covered with a magnetic oxide. So if you are able to get a floppy disk, you can always remove this. So you see this part over here, you can manipulate it, you can move it down or up, and you can see a little black plastic inside that is where the information was recorded. So I got the right protector nut. So if you move this one up or down, you're going to be, you get locked, you couldn't record anything, couldn't start anything over here in your floppy disk. So the checkpoint number two says so called because they are made of flexible plastic plates which can be bent, and of course that's true, they can be bent. Also known as floppy or diskettes. So that is our next name that they get diskettes. Point number four says plastic disc is encased in a square plastical or vinyl jacket cover that give handling protection to the disc surface, and this is the part that I was telling you is this black part over here. So remember that the flat flexible plastic is inside over here, and over here this is what you see, the this squared section is the plastic jacket which cover the diskette inside. So these diskettes are classified in two main types which are used today, or they were used in past time, which is the 5 and 1/4 diskette, and the next one was 3.5 inch diskette. And this was a question in your past test, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I asked you about these questions over here in your first test I gave you. So these are the two size of diskette that were mainly used in, well, in the time that I was in school. Of course, I got bigger ones. I have already seen bigger ones, but they're for other purposes. But these ones were the standard ones used for school or office works. So the storage capacity for floppy disk, and of course they have different size depending on depending on their size. So they have the approximate capacity. For example, over here we see this table. We have the first one, which is 5.1/4 inch. Number of number of surface, it says 2. Number of track 40. Number of sector per track contains 9. Number of bytes or sector is 512. Capacity in bytes is 3. All right, so this mistake over here should be 368,640, and approximated capacity was 360 kilobytes. So this is the capacity. As you can see, the capacity, their storage capacity was very low, very low. So you cannot even store a picture in one of these because it would automatically get full. So this is the capacity. But of course nowadays we are in a more advanced era. So we have USB, we got external drive, we got different stuff as secondary capacity. But this is just the storage capacity of different type of floppy disk. So as you can see over here, guys, of course, I forgot to mention this part. Even though some of them, the diskettes are different in sizes, which is the 5 and 1/4 and the 3.5. The numbers of sectors or track and the number of track are different. The surface is the same, as you can notice, the surface are the same, but the number of tracks and number of tracks per sector per tracks are different. For example, this is 30, this is 90, this is 80, this is 15, this is 40, 18, 18, 18, 80, and 36. And the number of bytes per sector is, well, it says the same thing. Their capacity in bytes and their approximate capacity. So there are different capacities. So this one, the last one, which is the 3.5, which contains a number of surface 2, track of number of track, which is 80, the number of sectors in track 36, and this is the one that at least I think will be able to hold a picture in very low quality. Now the hard disk. The hard disk, well, everybody know what is hard disk, right? For example, we have over here, we got how the hard disk looks inside. This is how this look inside, hard disk look inside. If you have a old laptop or you have an old hard disk in your house, you can always open, remove all the screws over here, and then you can just remove the cover, and you will see it's the same thing over here. So this is the hard disk. Everybody know what is hard disk: laptops, computers, desktops, everything bring a hard disk. Oh, now then we have the technology, as I tell you, is getting more advanced, and you have what is known as the SSD. For example, this laptop I am using right now, it contains an SSD and contains a hard drive as well, contains two of them. So, what are hard drive? I don't really have to give too much information about this because you know what is it, but of course I will be reading some of the points over here. So says it is round, flat piece of rigid metal, frequently aluminum, disc coated with a magnetic oxide. So if you can notice, everything when it comes to storage, disk storage is covered with this magnetic oxide. Comes in many sizes randomly from 1 to 14-inch in diameter, depending on how they are used. Depending on how they are packaged, the hard disks are in three types. We have the zip disk, the disk packs, and the Winchester disk. Primary online secondary storage devices for most computer systems today. So this is the same thing I was telling of you. This is what is the main or the primary online secondary storage device for most computers today. But as I mentioned to you right now, you have some laptops and some, I am pretty sure, in desktops that are coming with what is known as the SSD, which is more, even have more speed capacity than a regular hard drive. So this is what is a hard drive. I am pretty sure you know what is a hard drive, right? So I am pretty sure you have already seen, every one of you have seen how a hard drive look over here. So we're going to be jumping with our second slide. Alright, so the zip disk. As you can see over here, we have some example, and these are the drive. So it's used in a single hard disk platter encased in a plastic cartridge. So this is what is known as the disk, the zip disk, or the and the drive where they are inserted for reading. The disk drive may be portable or fixed type, so it can be like an external, which you can be portable. You can just plug it to the USB in your laptop or your desktop, or it can already come installed, pre-installed in your system. The fixed type is part of the computer system permanently connected to it. So this is the same thing I was telling you right now. The portable type can be carried to a computer system, connect to it for the duration of use, and then can be disconnected and taken away when the work is done. To make an example of this, for example, as we see in the past slide, we were talking about the hard drive. So computers and desktop, majority of them come with hard drive, right? But if you don't want to, so the hard drive is already permanent, meaning it's pre-connected already in your system. It is permanently connected to your system. But if you want to add more space, you can just go and take your external drive, which is can be different size, of course, and you can just plug it. And so that is a portable drive. And then we have the permanent drive. So it's the same thing with this one. A computer desktop can come already pre-installed with one of these, or you can just buy this as an external one, connect it via USB cable, and then you just plug it to your computer and you can use it, and then you can just unplug it when the purpose it was going to be used is done. So this is what is the zip disk over here. Yeah, and you see it almost look like a floppy disk, right? So it almost look like that. Right. So the next one is the disk packs. So what are this one is use multiple two or more hard disk platters mounted on a single central shaft. So this over here you see, and this is a hard disk over here, and you see that different they are mounted, right? So this is what are the disk pack. This drive has separate read or write head for each used disk surface. So these have different, as you can see over here. See this part over here, the read, right? Where's the part, the arm where you read the information, they're separate. So Even though they are packed, they have separate read and write head for each usable disk surface. And these are of removable or interchangeable type in the sense that they have to be mounted on the disk drive before they can be used, and can be removed and kept offline when they are not used. So this you can remove, you can put in, or you can put it off. So this is at this box over here we have the example, right? So this is what is known as the disk pack. And then we have the Winchester disk. So again, guys, you have, for example, the zip disk over here, the disk pack over here. You can see the disk pack there pack, and the last one, which is the Winchester disk. So this use multiple, again, two or more hard disk platter mounted on a single center shaft. You can see the example over here. So let's not get confused with the past one. The past one is already mounted, the one that with the slide that we just passed over here. So this is the disk pack again, and this is the Winchester disk. This is the drive that reads everything. The hard disk platter and the disk drive are sealed together on a contamination-free container and cannot be separated from each other. So these ones cannot be separated. But remember that I just mentioned to you right now that each one of these contains a separate head for reading. So this one, even though they are packed together, the Winchester contains separated for reading. So for the same number of disks, Winchester drive have larger storage capacity than these packs because one, all surface of all disks are used for data recording, and two, they employ much greater precision of data reading, resulting in a greater data recording density. So this is the example over here. This pack again, Winchester disc and the disc zip. And of course, guys, if there's something that you don't understand, of course, as I mentioned to you, you can always pause this video and you can just read the information over here. So, as everything, there's always an advantage and disadvantage, or also known as limitations. So over here we have different disadvantages. I am not going to be reading all of those. You can pause the video, and of course in your handouts you can always review the advantages. So I'm just going to be reading one which say that more suitable than magnetic tape for wider range of application because they support direct access to data. So a random access property enables them to be used simultaneously by multiple users as a shared device. Tape is not suitable for such type of usage due to its sequential access property. And of course, you can continue reading the rest of the information in your handouts, which are going to be providing you as well. Okay, so as I was telling you, there's an advantage, there's a disadvantage, or also known as limitation. And of course, again, guys, you can always pause this video and you can read, or you can go and use your handouts as reference. And of course, guys, remember that all this information I am giving you in this slide, you can find it in your handouts. So I'll do the first point over here. Say although use of both random processing and sequential processing of data for application for latter tape type, sorry, it may be less efficient than magnetic type. So even though they have their advantages, they can be less efficient than magnetic tapes. And remember that we cover magnetic tape in our past lesson. So of course, guys, go back to your past this video or go to your handouts and you can continue reading the rest of the information over here. So, the use of magnetic disc. So as we cover in the uses of magnetic tape, of course, we are going to be covering right now over here what are the use of magnetic disc for applications that are based on random data processing. So this is the point number one. This is one of the uses. Next use is as a share on online secondary storage device. Winchester disk and disk pack are often used for this purpose. So, as a backup device for offline storage of data, floppy disk, zip disk, and disk packs are often used for this purpose. And of course, we can also add here USBs, external drive, SD drives. Nowadays, we have the clouds, like for example, the Google Drive and so on. So these are some of the uses of this magnetic disk. Archive data. Archiving of data not used frequently may be used once in a while. Floppy disk, again, zip disk, and disk pack are often used for this purpose. So this again, we can also add USBs, external drive, SD cards, and so on. So of course, this is they are used to for saving data that you are not usually. For example, let's say you have a camera, digital camera, or your cell phone, and you take pictures, but you don't really go through it every time. You can just take well, in this case it's a floppy disk, zip disk, and disk pack. But of course, now and then you can use a USB. You can take out the picture from your cell phone, so it doesn't full your memory. You can always store that in the USB, which is a magnetic disk. So this is an example for that. Transferring of data and program from a computer to another that are not linked together. Floppy disk and zip disk are often used for this purpose. So you can also transfer programs. For example, if let's say I have a program in my laptop and you want a copy of that program, I can always copy and paste that program, and then I can transfer that to your computer or to your laptop. This is an next purpose or like use. And the next one says distribution of software by vendors. Originally sold software or software updates are often distributed by vendors on floppy disk and diskettes. So this is already past. This is the old fashioned way. Nowadays, like as I mentioned to you, technology is going advanced. You can this comes in CD-ROMs or DVD-ROMs, depending on the size of the vendors. For example, let's say you decide to buy Nerd 32, which is an antivirus. You decide to buy that. You can buy those in you can buy that, can whenever you buy it can go into in a floppy disk. But of course nowadays you don't really have to buy that. You just need a credit card, right? Go to their official site, and this go for any program, any software. You can go to their official site. You can download a trial, maybe a 7 or 14 days or 1 month trial, free trial. And if you are satisfied with that, you can just open an account with them, and then you can just use it with your credit card and you buy the software. So this is, as I was telling to you, this is the old-fashioned way. Of course, just want to cover this one so you can be updated or know what was happening a few years ago. But nowadays you can always I don't I honestly have been years I don't see any program that comes in floppy disk, to be honest. I just see them in drive. For example, if you buy a cell phone and it brings a little CD drive over there so that you can install the program. But as I mentioned to you, that is getting out of dated, and nowadays the only thing you have to do have in your computer reliable internet service, and then you can just download the application directly from their page. And then if you're satisfied with the trial, as I mentioned to you, you can always buy the full version of the software. So these are some of the use of magnetic disk. All right, so we are going to be covering about optical disc now. So what are optical discs? Consists of a circular disc which is coated with a thin metal or some other material that is slightly reflective. So over here we have two diagrams. We have two diagrams over here. The diagram number one are track pattern of an optical disc. So these are the track pattern of optical disc, the pattern of an optical, and this one is the track of a magnetic disc. So over here you can see this one got goes by sectors, right, that I was telling you, and tracks contain tracks over here, and this one, as you can see, it just go like a shell over here, or like yeah, you can call it like a shell. Yes, you see, goes like that. So this is an optical disc. So it contains of a thin metal or some materials or some other material that is slightly reflected. And an example of this is a CD drive, a CD, DVD. They're an example of optical disc, but we're going to be covering that in a little way. Laser beam technology is used for recording and reading of data on this disc. So, I don't know if you ever had the opportunity. I remember one of the first CD players my father he bought many years ago when I was a kid. I just used to press a button and then the optical, I mean the not the optical, I mean the case or the used to open, and it have like a little laser. You had like a little thing that used to move up and down, and it have like a little glass thing, and then whenever I remember I used to press play, it used to send a little red laser, red light, which is the laser. So that was the laser beam that is used for reading and recording. For example, let's say if you're going to be burning if you want well, nowadays I don't usually do it again. I just say I see some places that still do it. If you want to burn a CD, let's say you want to burn a CD or you want to burn a movie in a DVD, and you just put them in your disk drive, and the laser is in charge of burning that. So the laser was going to be recording the data on the disk, which can be music, MP3, or audio or movies. So also known as the laser. So this one are also known as the laser disc. Optical laser discs due to the use of laser beam technology. So they are known as, there's another name is laser disc or optical laser disc. This is another name. And the last point over here says proved to be promising random access medium of high capacity secondary storage because it can store extremely large amount of data in limited space. And this is true. For example, let's say you buy a 700 megabytes CD, and in that you were only able to be, if you're going to be burning that for an audio CD, audio music, you can only store up to 30 music over there. But if you record those as MP3, you were able to store up to 700-800 songs in one CD. So that is what this part means over here, that was promising, because you can access medium of high capacity, and even though their storage limited was very slow. So over here says, the next part over here says the optical disk or the storage organization. So this is the one that I will explain to you. You can see over here, this part over here contains what is known as tracks, and this one you see it goes like this. And this is what the laser was reading. As it start to rotate, then the laser will start like this, and eventually will start to move to read all the information that was tracked like this. So this is how this used to work. All right, so the capacity. Again, remember the capacity, everything have to do with capacity, the storage capacity. So the storage capacity of an optical disc equals the number of sectors and the number of byte per sectors. Again, almost the same thing with the disk drive, and the most popular disk optical disc uses a 5.2-inch diameter of storage capacity of around 650 megabytes. So over here we have different examples, right, which is are the regular CDs, and this one you can see over here, this a DVD over here, but we're going to be covering that more ahead over here, more access. So again, they have their access time. So the first point over here says that with optical disc, each sector has the same length regardless of whether it is located near or away the disc center. So it doesn't matter, it can be over here, can be over here, can be over here, but all of them have the same sector, the sector length. Their length is the same thing. Also, the speed have a lot to do with the with that, and the speed with which they rotate. And let's use low rotator access time for optical disc and then magnetic disc. So this one, they lead to slower data access time for optical disc and magnetic disc, and again the access time of optical discs are typically in the range of 100 to 300 milliseconds, and that of hard disk range from 10 to 30 milliseconds. Okay, so there are big difference over here between the hard disk and the optical disk. There are different types. So let's continue with the next slide. All right, so the optical disk drive, of course, everything, remember everything, you need a drive for that. So use lens beam technology for reading and writing of data, as I was explaining to you. We can, an example over here, we have this one. You can, maybe it can be a DVD player, or it can be just an MP3 player. And we use no mechanical read access arm. So this doesn't use any arm like that, like the hard drives that you see they were square and then have the disk and have like a little arm to read. No, this one use um, a laser beam to read the data in it, and use constant linear velocity, which is known as the CLV encoding scheme, in which the rotation speed of the disk varies inversely with the radius. So everything have to do with their velocity, how fast they go, how fast or they slow. All right, so they got different types of disk. For example, the first one over here I put is the CD-ROM. Over here you can see this is the CD-ROM. And what the CD-ROM means stands for the compact disk, CD, compact disk, ROM, read-only memory. So this is what is known as the CD-ROM. Package a shiny silver color metal disc of 5 and 1/4 inch or 12 centimeters diameter, having a storage capacity of about 650 megabytes. So this can have 650 megabytes of storage capacity. The disc come pre-recorded and the information stored on them cannot be altered. So you already come with already the information and you cannot add or remove any of the data that is already pre-recorded over here. And of course, a single CD-ROM diskette can hold a complete encyclopedia or a dictionary or a world atlas or biography of great people, etc. So remember, I was telling you earlier that one of the advantage of this that it can hold very high volume of data, and even though their storage capacity is low. Remember, this one is only 650 megabytes, and over here it says that it can hold a complete encyclopedia, a dictionary, or a word atlas, biography for great people, etc. So you can put a lot of, even a software you can over here. And of course, guys, you can always, as I mentioned to you, you can always pause this video and you can read the rest of the information. So this is what a CD-ROM is. So the next example is the worm disk or the CD recordable, or what the abbreviation, which is the CDR. Over here we have, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen one of these, right? 100% sure I've already seen one of these. So what does worm means? Remember, worm is not the worm, or what we call in Spanish gusano. So that stands for write once, read many. That is what that means. Write once, read many. So what that means, that data can be written only once on them, but can be read many times. For example, let's say you do an audio CD. Let's say you go and buy, you like, let's say you like your reggaeton music and you go buy a CD, audio CD. The music there can be, is going to be recorded only one time, but you can play that, or you can play the music over there many times. So that is what CDR means. You can, it is only written one time in the CD, but can be read many times and in different drive again. Same as CD-ROM, it has same storage capacity. I will have the same storage capacity. Remember, the next one has 630 or 650. Can't really remember good what was the capacity, but this one shows over here that have 700 megabytes. And again, guys, you can always refer to your handouts to continue reading the rest of information. I don't really want to focus too much on that because I don't want to make this video very long. So I just making you an idea what this stands for. Now then we have the next one that I am pretty sure I've already heard about that, which is the CD read, or the write, which stands for CDRW, CD rewritable. So as same as the CDR has the same storage capacity. Well, in some cases, if I remember, the next one was 700 and this is 650. So allow users to create their own CD-ROM disk by using a CD recordable CD-R drive that can be attached to a computer as a regular peripheral device. Data to be recorded can be written on the surface in multiple recording sessions. So what that means, for example, um, let's say you have a CD-RW, and this one already contain an album song. Let's say this you have some music over here, and then eventually you get tired of this CD, and you say, you know what, I don't get tired of this. I want a new CD. I want new music. And then somebody tell you, you know what, I have this CD. If you want, you can copy, but you don't have any CD. You can come put this CD in your computer drive, in your CD drive in your computer, and you can you can rewrite again data in this one. And it can be anything. It can be music, it can be software, it can be pictures, it can be everything over here can be pre-deleted. For example, if you are let's and a good example of that is, for example, if you have picture in your external drive in your mobile in your cell phone, and eventually your memory is getting full, and what you do, you just start to remove picture from that, and you put more data, other information. There is the same thing with this one. You can delete all the information over here, and you can rewrite again new information this one. So CD-RW stands that CD rewritable, meaning that you can rewrite the information base over here. Now the digital video, or what is known as the DVD. So the DVD looks the same as CD-ROM, but has a capacity of 4.7 gigabytes or 8.5 gigabytes. So they have different capacities over here. And over here you can even store even more data. I remember when I was in school, I was studying in Mexico. All my information I used to save it in the CDs. So again, guys, if you see, I have two different type of DVDs over here. You got the DVD reader and the DVD rewritable, and of course they are the same thing. So it is designed primarily to store and distribute movies. So this one, their main purpose was to make movies, and I still see movies on DVDs. For example, you got the Blu-rays and different things, which are more advanced right now. But as you can notice, the DVD-R and the DVD-RW, as I explained you in the past slide, is the same thing. For example, let's say you have a movie in this one. You done somebody tell you, you know what, I have a movie in a USB, and if you want it, you can just you buy a CD-RW. You can burn the movie over here. You're watching the movie, and after a while that you get tired of the movie, you can just delete the movie over here, or record the next movie over here. So you can delete the information, the data in this one, and you can pre-record a new data over here. So this is what stands for activity. One of the disadvantage of these guys, and I forget to mention it also with the CD-RW, were that the old them drive, for example, the old CD players or the DVD player, some of them were not able to read the DVD-RW. So that's why I decided to put this one over here. This is a DVD player, and you see over here it says DVD-RW, and then over here it says DBM. They got the R. The R DVD says over here says R, and have a slash and say RW. For example, if your DVD only used to say only DVD-R, if you buy a movie in a DVD-RW, which is born in a DVD-RW, your drive or your DVD drive won't be able to read it. So that is something that you when old times when you used to buy a DVD player, that was something that you need to have in consideration before you buy a DVD player. You have to make sure that the DVD player was also had the capacity to read RW, and the same thing with the CD players. CD player only say compact disc, CD compact disc or CDR. They were and didn't have any CDR or slash CD RW. That means that they were able to read the RW disc, only this type of disc. So the information is the same thing for both of them. So they have advantages, guys. Again, as I mentioned to you, you can go to your handouts and you can read all of this information. You can read all of this information. All right, so you can write the advantages and of course again there are limitations. So the limitations over here and over here you have just a quick slide over here says cheap media. And that was very cheap, of course, and it was easy to get scratch. For example, I remember I used to go to Malcher and I used to buy movies over there or CDs, and when I used to put them in my, for example, if let's say that was a audio CD, meaning that contains music, I used to put it in my CD player, and then it started to play, and after a while, just started to say the same thing, repeating the same thing. That's why from there it comes this phrase that they say that when you talk too much and you repeat the same thing, you say that they say in Spanish, but it says disco rayado. From there it comes means that you're going to be repeating the same thing. And of course over here it says easy to break, can get damaged, small capacity compared to some flash or other drive, and those are the disadvantages. And the advantage are they were cheap. Of course they are very cheap. The CD and DVD can hold lots of media, easy to carry, small size, and looks cool. So, of course, even though I personally don't use this again. Honestly, everything I use is my flash drive or external drive or my drives, cloud drives. So of course they have some use for optical disc for say over here for distributing large amounts of data at low cost. This is one of the use for distribution of electronic version of conference proceeding, journals, magazine, books, products, software, etc. For distribution of new upgrade version of software products by software vendors, and almost the same thing as the disk drive. It's almost the same thing, the same use, but as I mentioned to you earlier, nowadays you are going to rarely see this product software sold in this software upgrade softwares in optical disk or drive. Majority was, as I mentioned to you, the only thing you have to do now is go to this main website and you can just download their upgrade or the software from them. So, and of course, you can also refer this information in your handouts, or you can pause this video and can read it over here. This part over here are the memory storage device, or also known as the first one, the flash drive or the USB. Everybody know what is that, right? Relatively new secondary storage devices based on flash memory, enabling easy transport of data from one computer to another. So everybody know what is a flash drive, right? Or a USB. I have over here, I have some example. Compact device, compact device of this size of a pen, comes in various shape and stylish design and may be different added their features. So they are different styles. For example, I have this one, then you have the flat ones, they got different type of flash drive. Then we have the memory card, which are also known as the SD card or the MMC. Almost similar to the flash drive, but in the shape of a card. And over here we have an example. All right, this is the SD card over here, you see, and this is just the adapter for the SD card. The SDH card. This is known as the HD SDH card. All right, so this can already come with a pre-installed SSD, or you can use some of these as adapter to use the small version of that. For example, this one. And then we have the mass storage devices. So the mass storage devices, as the name implies, these are storage systems having several trillions of bytes of data storage capacity. These use multiple units of storage media as a single secondary storage device. And there are three commonly used types of this one. There are three types of mass storage device. For example, you got the disk array, which use a set of magnetic disks, and the automate type library, which use a set of magnetic tapes, and the CD-ROM jukebox box, sorry, which use a set of CD-ROM. They are relatively slow, having average access times in seconds. So, but they say over here they are very slow. compared to the password compared to the one we just mentioned a few minutes ago. So these are the secondary storage: the flash drive, the memory card, and the mass storage devices. So the disk array are these ones over here: a set of hard drive and hard disk drive, which with a control amount of single box forming a single large storage unit. As you can see over here, and a good example of this are, for example, the Facebook or the Google or the Apple servers over here. You see, where they store all their information. If you go to Facebook or to Google and go to your storage unit, you're going to be finding a lot of these ones, and every day they are adding and upgrading their system. So these are what is known as the disk array. And of course, you can also continue reading this information in your handouts. All right, so the automate tape library. So these are the you see I have two different pictures over here. So this first one picture, this is how an automated tape library looks, and this is a set of magnetic tapes and magnetic tape drive with a control amount of single box formatting single large storage unit. And again, an example of this are the storage unit for Facebook and Google and Apple and so on. This is how they store their information. Whenever you, for example, if you upload a picture on Facebook or whatever you video, anything, everything stores in these ones. Everything stores in these ones over here. So every time they have to be upgrading and adding more storage capacity to this one. If you go to YouTube, again, if you go to YouTube and you see it over there, you type Facebook storage unit, you're going to be seeing very big buildings with big fans and so on to maintain everything cool inside, and you're going to be seeing something like this. Or you can also put Google storage unit and you're going to be seeing. So this is what an automated tape library looks like. And the next one is a CD-ROM jukebox. I have already seen them. In Mexico, when I was in Mexico, I used to buy games, video games for a computer, or MP3 or audio music or DVD movies. And they used to have like these ones. These are connected to a CPU, and of course there you can this and you there they used to put. You see all these little lines over here, right? These are units. All of these are CD units. You can just put them CDs over here. Full this with CDs like you see over here. That's you're going to add the CDs over there, and you can make a copy of one CD in. You can make up to 10 or 20 copies of one single CD in one shot. It's not like, for example, if you want to do a burn a CD in your laptop, that you have to open your CD drive, put one CD, burn that one, take out that one, put a new blank CD, and then so on. Now in these ones, you can burn one CD or 20 CDs in one shot. This is what a CD-ROM jukebox looks like. And of course, remember, guys, as I tell you, you can always refer to your handouts. All right, so the storage hackery. So as a single type of storage is not superior in speed of access, capacity, and cost, most computer systems make use of hackery of storage technology as shown below. So over here we see I have two arrows, right? We have an arrow going up and then we see an arrow going down. So over here it says the smaller capacity, faster access time, and higher cost per bit stored. So the smaller capacity is higher and is faster in access time, is very faster, sorry, smaller capacity, and higher cost per store per bit stored. So it's a little bit more, the cost is more higher. And over here says that the larger capacity, slower access time, and lower cost per bit stored. So this is what this means. So the larger the capacity, the slower and the cheaper it becomes, and the smaller the capacity, the faster the access time, and the expensive it comes when it comes to store data. So over here we have a breakdown. For example, you got the cache memory, the main memory, online, direct access and sequential access secondary storage device such as hard disk, offline direct access and sequential access secondary storage device such as magnetic film tape, floppy disk, zip disk, worm disk, etc. And the last one, mass storage devices such as tape library, CD, jukebox, etc. So this is what is the storage hackery. And of course, guys, if there's something that you don't understand, you can always contact me. So guys, this is the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for staying until the end. And if you have any questions, guys, remember are always free to contact me. As I mentioned to you, I'm very flexible. If you message me late in the night and I am awake and I see your message, I will definitely answer you back again. So guys, thank you very much. If you have any question again, don't hesitate to contact me, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.